Alright guys, let's talk about the formation, positioning, rotation, subs, and the lineup in total. So first thing you need to know is your setter, obviously. We have this lineup specialty over here. So two great setters at the moment are Kageyama and also Oikawa. So Kageyama is good for quick attack and Oikawa is good for power attack. This is important whenever you're going against an enemy that has a team rating similar to you or even higher than you, then you can use this to gain this buff over here. So if you're going against a block type enemy, obviously if you go for a quick attack type setter, then you have 30% power boost. But if you do a power attack one, then you'll have 30% of the power disadvantage against the block type players. So these two are the best ones at the moment. But then again, it's not like, oh, okay, let's just go block type if we're going against the power one and use kanji, because setter is just one of your players in the game. There are other characters that you need to have so that you can apply the bond over here. So this is the second thing we're going to talk about. At the moment, Karasuna High School bond is the most powerful one based on the characters that we have, and it will probably change later on when we have different new players. So over here you want to make sure to use the high school bond. So for now at the moment Karasuno would be the best one, and then on the right side you can see the player deployment bond. So based on the players that you're putting inside the main team, you can have these player deployment bonds. So this is something you need to consider. After getting your setter, obviously you want to put all the best characters that you have inside your main team and then check which kind of bonds you have activated. And this player deployment bond should be actually for the players that are on the field, not the bench ones. For example, if you tap on the characters, first of all, you can see the bonds that they have, or if you go to the gallery and the bond part, you can check all the bonds over there as well. So Kageyama has a bond with the SR Hinata, but since he's in the bench, then we don't have the deployment bond over here. Let's say if I put him instead of Tsukishima, then I can see the applied bond over here as well. But then again, it's not just having like multiple bonds over here that could be useful, because the character and the player itself is also important. So SR Hinata or even SSR Hinata is a good middle blocker, but mainly for attacking. And for defending, the best one at the moment is Tsukishima. Even later on, he's one of the best SSR middle blockers in the game. That's why you want to have him instead of the SR or even SSR Hinata. So that's also something you need to consider with the player bonds and the characters that you have. And then now we'll talk about their positioning. So for example, which characters should you put at the front row? The front row is basically for blocking the enemy's attack. So you want to have players that have the highest blocking ability. For example, Tsukishima. Now you can still have a wing spiker that has higher blocking ability at front, but I didn't do that. The reason is that you always go with the player that has the highest blocking ability when you're doing the block. Either it's the ultimate or just a regular block, because these characters don't have an ultimate block, right? So you would either do the ultimate block of your middle blocker or just do a regular block of your middle blocker, right? That player will be the one that you're gonna choose because they have the highest number. So it doesn't matter if I put another person here that has a higher block. Since it's still lower than my middle blocker, then I'm not gonna use it. I'm gonna still use my middle blocker, Tsukishima, that has the highest blocking ability to do the main block. That's why I put Tanaka over here and Iwazumi over there. And there's another reason as well. So this was the front row. Now we'll go to the back row. Back row is actually more important because you're gonna have players to do the receive, right? So the players that have highest receive, like for example, Iwazumi has 960 and then Tanaka has 914. So obviously Iwazumi has a higher receive stat. That's why I put him over here, so that I'll make sure that my receive is better. And then obviously you also have your libero, which I'll talk about that later on in a bit. This is just like the rows, the front row and the back row. So the front row will be your middle blocker, obviously, whoever has the highest middle block, so that you can lead with that one. And then for the back row, you're gonna put players that have higher receive abilities or numbers, so that you'll make sure that your receive is good, so that then you can obviously do the set with your setter and then attack with one of your characters. So that's the front row and the back row. And then next part, we're gonna talk about the rotation. So the best two rotations that we have, it's this one, like first is this one. So you have your setter at front and then your OP over here, and the second one would be your setter here, like the exact opposite. And there are quite a few reasons. So first of all, if you check your setter abilities over here, let's talk about it. So your Kageyama has this setter dump ability, and Kanji also has this setter dump, and then also Kenma has this setter dump. So for this ultimate of your setter dump, your setter must be at the front row to do the ultimate. That's why it's best to have Kageyama at the front row so that you can use his ultimate. If you put him at the back row, then you're going to sacrifice and lose his ultimate. And you can't do that at all. That's just the volleyball rule. You can't have your setter at the back row and then do a setter dump. So he needs to be at the front row, right? But then if you check Oikawa, for example, he doesn't have the setter dump ultimate. He has the serve ultimate. So it's best to have him at the server spot if you have him maxed out and better than Yoshijima, so that you can use his ultimate serve over here to do the serve, right? So that's something you need to consider based on your setter and the characters that you have. But again, these two would be the best ones. So let's just check the top 10 players over here in PvP. It's again the same. So see, you have your Oikawa as a setter and has the ultimate serve. That's why he's at the serving spot. And then this one is the exact opposite. So your setter would be either here at the serving spot or the exact opposite. This one is again the same. Let's just go down. This is the same. These are all the same. So if you check them, it's either your setter Oikawa doing the serve because of his what you call the ultimate ability that has the serve, or it's at the front row. And then there's also one exception over here. This is actually good to talk about. The number 4 player, as you can see, it's a bit different. And the reason is, I think mainly is because of having 2 UR characters at the front row, which have the highest blocking ability. So and also Tanaka, you can see his blocking ability is higher than Iwazumi. That's why he's at the front row. So he serves and then they all block to gain the points. But even if they lose a point and this rotates, obviously Yoshijima will go over here and Oikawa will come over here as well. So again, it'll be the same rotation that we talked about. So talking about the rotation, obviously this happens like this. Whenever you lose a point and then gain a point, this will rotate. So this is the rotation thing. It's not like whenever you lose a point, it rotates. No, whenever you lose it and then gain a point, it will rotate. So if you win all the points, it'll be the same. Even if you lose one, it'll still be the same when the enemy is attacking. But then if you win the next point, then it will rotate like this. And then your next, the wing server that you had over here will be the next server. So this is the rotation thing. Now let's talk about the subs. So when your wing server comes over here, obviously he will serve, right? But Tanaka doesn't have any serving ability. He doesn't even have that icon for serve, which is this one, this pink one. And like Kageyama has that, and also Asahi over here has that. So this basically means that you can see which part of the opponent's team has the weakest receive, and then you can serve at that spot. So what you can do is to go to the substitution settings, server presetting, and then change, what the hell is that? Okay, you can change the server that you have, for example, Tanaka with Asahi. and then just close this. So whenever Tanaka goes over here and it's his turn to serve, you will sub him out, and then Asahi will come in to do the serve, and he also has the serving ability, so that's something useful. But one thing to consider is that he will stay here and do the serve, and then when it rotates over here again, automatically Tanaka will come in and sub in with Asahi. So that way you're gonna lose 2 of your subs, and we only have 4 subs in total in the game. So that's something you need to consider again, like in longer matches, and if you have a good bench, then you might need to keep those subs, maybe so that you can change them later on and have fresh players in the game just to do a comeback or just finish the match. But if you don't have any good players, or you can do like 2 or 3 max like subs based on the players, then that's okay to have this pre-serving sub that we just talked about. And then there's one thing over here, the libero. So switch libero, it's basically based on the receiving stat of the character. So if you check, usually the middle blocker players have the lowest receive stat. So his receive is 833, but then Nishinoya is, wow, that's like way more obviously. But then if you compare your middle blocker with your other characters, like your wing spiker, for example, he has higher receive ability. So based on the character that has the lowest receive on your team, maybe it could be your wing spiker, then you want to switch your libero with that position, so that whenever that type of character is at the back row, then your libero will jump in and switch with them, so that you have higher chance of receive because of his higher receive numbers. So again, that's something you need to consider. And obviously, if you have a UR character, you don't want to switch your libero with your UR character, obviously, because that's just like not smart. So yeah, that's the whole thing about the rotations, the formation, the subs, your lineup and everything. And I think I explained everything as much as I could, and I talked about the most important parts of the formation and your lineup. And the rest is just based on your players and abilities and numbers and stats that they have. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know down in the comment section what are your thoughts, and if you have any other questions, write them down. I'll answer to all of them. Don't forget to join my Discord server as well. We can talk more over there, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time, have fun and stay tuned.